First Contact Protocol. The Deep Space Monitoring Station of the Australis Confederation hummed with routine activity until proximity alarms shattered the calm. Commander Lyra's crystalline appendages stiffened as she studied the holographic display where an unknown vessel had just appeared at the edge of their territory. Analysis, she demanded, her translucent skin pulsing with bioluminescent colors reflecting her anxiety. Officer Talon manipulated the sensor controls with practiced precision. The vessel doesn't match any known configuration in our database. Structure suggests advanced technology. Metallic composite hull with unusual energy signatures. Weapons systems, extensive. The ship was unlike anything in Confederation records, a sleek, angular design that seemed to absorb rather than reflect sensor scans. Its obsidian hull was punctuated by what appeared to be weapon emplacements, though none showed signs of powering up. Transmit standard greeting protocol, Commander Lyra ordered, following the procedure that had successfully initiated first contact with 17 species over the Confederation's long history. The message, a carefully crafted welcome containing mathematical sequences and basic linguistic patterns designed to establish communication, streamed toward the mysterious vessel. The expected response time for translation and analysis by a new species was typically between 6 to 12 standard cycles. The unknown vessel responded in 27 seconds. Greetings, Australis Confederation. This is Captain Elena Reyes of the Earth Alliance vessel Hyperion. We come with peaceful intentions and request permission to establish diplomatic communication. Shocked silence fell over the monitoring station. The message had arrived not only with impossible speed, but in perfect Confederation standard language. How did they translate our language so quickly? Officer Talon whispered, multifaceted eyes widening in disbelief. More importantly, Lyra replied, how do they know we're called the Australis Confederation? We didn't include that in the greeting protocol. The implications were disturbing. Either this species possessed translation technology far beyond Confederation capabilities, or they had been observing the Confederation for some time without detection. Neither option was comforting. Captain Reyes, Lyra transmitted, struggling to maintain composure, we acknowledge your greeting. For safety protocols, please deactivate your weapon systems and assume standard approach formation Delta for escort to our diplomatic station. The Hyperion's response defied expectations. With respect, Commander, we will maintain our current position and defensive capabilities until diplomatic protocols are established. We suggest a neutral meeting point where representatives from both sides can convene safely. Lyra's skin flashed deep indigo, a sign of alarm among her species. No newly encountered civilization had ever refused to power down weapons during first contact. The standard procedure existed for good reason. It had proven effective in preventing misunderstandings that could lead to conflict. This is highly irregular, she transmitted. We must insist on compliance with established safety protocols. With a subtle gesture to her security chief, Lyra authorized the activation of the station's defensive screens. The human vessel's sensors detected the power surge instantly. Please be advised, Captain Rice transmitted, her tone remaining professional but firm, that we interpret the activation of your defensive systems as escalatory. We remain committed to peaceful engagement, but will not compromise our security posture. Perhaps we could begin with an exchange of cultural information to build trust. The standoff continued for 3 tense hours. The Confederation Council, after heated debate, authorized a calibration test of their defensive systems, essentially a warning shot deliberately aimed to pass harmlessly past the human vessel's bow. The intent was to demonstrate Confederation military capability and encourage compliance with their protocols. The human response would reshape Confederation military doctrine forever. The Hyperion didn't evade or return fire. Instead, it launched a precision countermeasure drone that intersected the energy pulse with perfect timing, neutralizing it completely. The drone then returned to its bay, all before the Confederation tracking systems could properly lock onto it. We acknowledge your warning shot, Captain Rice transmitted, her voice now carrying a steely edge beneath its diplomatic veneer. "We choose to interpret it as a demonstration rather than hostile action. However, we strongly advise against further weapons discharge. To be clear, we possess significant defensive and offensive capabilities that we would prefer not to demonstrate. Shall we return to discussing diplomatic options?" Deep within the Confederation's Central Archive complex, something ancient stirred to life. Sensors that had remained dormant for millennia registered the energy discharge and subsequent neutralization. Evaluation protocols activated, analyzing the exchange and identifying patterns consistent with pre-programmed threat scenarios. The Guardian, an autonomous defense system created by the long-vanished progenitors of the Confederation, began its awakening sequence. On the Hyperion's bridge, Captain Alina Reyes removed her neural interface headset and turned to her executive officer. "Their reaction doesn't match their technological level," she observed. "Their ships and stations show signs of highly advanced engineering, yet their first contact protocols seem almost primitive, rigid, and unable to adapt." Commander Daniel Chen nodded, reviewing the tactical displays. "They're acting like people who've never faced real conflict. Their warning shot was perfectly calculated, textbook perfect. But it's like they've only practiced in simulations, never faced the real thing." "What bothers me," Security Chief Amara Okafor interjected, "is their insistence that we follow their protocols without question. Every spacefaring species we've encountered has developed their own security measures. The Confederation acts as if theirs is the only possible approach." Captain Reyes pondered this assessment. Humanity's journey to the stars had been marked by caution born from centuries of conflict and hard-won lessons about trust. The Earth Alliance fleet maintained defensive capabilities not from aggression, but from experience. The galaxy had proven itself neither entirely hostile nor entirely benevolent. "There's something else at play here," she decided. "Their behavior suggests either extreme naivety or hidden motives. Continue passive scans of the surrounding space. I want to know if they're calling for reinforcements." The Hyperion's advanced sensor array detected the power surge before the Confederation realized what was happening. Deep within their archive complex, automated systems were activating, drawing enormous energy from previously unknown power sources. "Captain," the science officer reported, "we're detecting massive energy buildup approximately 3.2 million kilometers from our position, near what appears to be a central Confederation facility. The signature doesn't match anything in our database, but it's growing exponentially." Reyes straightened in her command chair. "All stations to yellow alert. Maintain defensive posture but do not target Confederation assets. Whatever's happening may not be their doing." Commander Lyra watched in growing horror as reports flooded in from the Central Archive complex. Systems that had never appeared on any architectural plans were activating throughout the facility. Hallways sealed themselves off. Ancient terminals flickered to life, displaying incomprehensible data streams, and security protocols no living Confederation member had authorized began executing themselves. "What's happening?" she demanded of the frantically working technicians. The senior archivist's voice trembled as he responded. "It appears to be the Guardian, Commander." "The Guardian? That's just an old legend, a myth from the founding era." "No, Commander. The records we've accessed suggest it's very real. The progenitors created an autonomous defense system to protect the Confederation from existential threats. It's been dormant for so long most believed it was allegorical, not literal. And now it's waking up. Why?" The archivist's expression grew grave. "It seems to have interpreted our exchange with the human vessel as evidence of a threat scenario. It's initiating what the records call assessment protocol. Across Confederation space, ancient systems hidden beneath the surface of moons, embedded in asteroids, and concealed within the heart of space stations began to power up. A network of defense platforms, more advanced than anything the modern Confederation possessed, prepared for activation. On the Hyperion, Captain Reyes received an unexpected transmission, not from Commander Lyra or any Confederation official, but from a new entity altogether. The message appeared on all communication channels simultaneously, bypassing encryption as if it didn't exist. ATTN known vessel. This is the Guardian of the HEASTRA Confederation. Your capability is ADVDBENACCS as LEVEL 5 threat potential. Prepare for complete evaluation. The transmission ended abruptly, replaced by a deafening silence as both humans and Confederation members alike tried to comprehend what they were facing. The first contact scenario had just become significantly more complicated. In the depths of space between the Hyperion and the Confederation station, reality itself seemed to shimmer as ancient technology, dormant for millennia, prepared to test humanity's true capabilities and intentions. The awakening Guardian. Space itself seemed to bend between the human vessel and the Confederation station as the ancient defense system fully activated. A massive structure materialized, impossible geometric shapes, forming a colossal sentinel that appeared to exist partially in dimensions beyond normal perception. The Guardian had awakened. All hands to battle stations, Captain Reyes ordered calmly, though her knuckles whitened as she gripped her command chair. Defense systems at maximum. No offensive action without my direct order. The Guardian's form stabilized, resolving into something vaguely resembling a massive crystalline construct with countless appendages of pure energy. Each movement left echoes in reality itself, as if the entity existed simultaneously across multiple time frames. Assessment beginning, the entity announced, its voice reverberating directly through communication systems and seemingly inside the minds of all who heard it. Commander Lyra frantically accessed the ancient records that had suddenly become available in the Confederation database. This can't be happening, she whispered as she scanned information that rewrote everything she thought she knew about her civilization's history. The records revealed that the Astralis Confederation hadn't naturally evolved into a peaceful union of species as their history taught. Their progenitors, now almost mythological figures, had created the Guardian as both protector and shepherd, guiding the development of member species along predetermined paths. The entire Confederation had been an experiment in guided evolution, with the Guardian ensuring that no external threats or internal deviations disrupted the grand design. We need to warn the humans, she realized, transmitting urgently to the Hyperion. Captain Rice, the Guardian isn't simply a defense system. It's an autonomous arbiter programmed to eliminate any threat to the Confederation's evolutionary path. Your ship's capabilities and your refusal to follow our protocols have triggered its assessment. If you fail its tests, it will attempt to eliminate you. On the Hyperion, Tactical Officer Lieutenant Quan monitored the Guardian's energy readings with growing concern. Captain, that thing is generating power levels that shouldn't be possible. Whatever technology it's using, it's beyond anything in our database. Can we outrun it? Rides asked, already knowing the answer. Negative. Its field effects are already interfering with our drive systems. We're effectively anchored in place. The Guardian's first test came without warning. A pulse of energy expanded outward, washing over the Hyperion like a tsunami. Ship systems flickered momentarily before self-stabilizing. It's scanning us, Science Officer Nazari reported, but unlike any scan I've seen. It's analyzing our technology, our biological patterns, even our quantum signature. Preliminary assessment complete, the Guardian announced. Species: human, origin, Earth, evolution pete, unguided, threat assessment, significant. Captain Rice activated the ship-wide communication system. This is the captain. We're facing an artificial intelligence defense system with capabilities beyond our current understanding. However, humanity has faced impossible odds before. Every officer will carry out their duties with the competence and creativity that defines our species. We will survive this encounter. The Guardian's next test was more direct. A series of increasingly complex mathematical and logical problems appeared on the Hyperion's main systems. They weren't simply transmitted, they were somehow integrated directly into the ship's computers, bypassing all security protocols. It's testing our intelligence, Commander Chen realized. These are problem-solving assessments. The ship's AI processed the simpler problems instantly, but as they increased in complexity, even the advanced quantum computing systems of the Hyperion struggled. "Let the crew tackle them," Captain Rice ordered. Different minds approach problems differently. What followed demonstrated why humanity had survived its violent history. Engineers proposed solutions based on practical applications rather than pure theory. Security personnel approached logical paradoxes from tactical perspectives. Even the ship's chef contributed, recognizing a pattern based on food preparation ratios that helped solve a particularly complex resource allocation problem. The Guardian observed this collaborative problem-solving with what could only be described as curiosity. Unexpected approach, DETCTED. Humans utilize colicitative intelligence, enhancement, through diverse cognitive strategies. Interesting. Meanwhile, in the Confederation monitoring station, Commander Lyra had assembled every available expert to understand what was happening. The senior archivist had made a breakthrough, accessing logs from the Guardian's previous awakenings. "It's happened before," he explained breathlessly. 3 times in our recorded history. Each time, the Guardian encountered a species it deemed potentially disruptive to the Confederation's development path. The records of what happened afterward are deliberately obscured, but those species never appear in later historical documents. "You're saying it eliminated entire civilizations?" Lyra's skin paled to a sickly translucent white. "I believe so. But there's something different this time. The humans aren't following the expected response patterns. They're adapting." On the Hyperion, the testing continued. The Guardian had moved beyond mathematical problems to ethical scenarios, presenting moral dilemmas with no clear solutions. "It's trying to understand our values," Rise realized. "Not just our intelligence, but our fundamental principles." In a surprising move, she opened a direct channel to the Guardian itself. "We recognize these tests as an assessment of our capabilities and intentions," she stated firmly. "We respect your role as protector of the Australis Confederation. However, you should understand that humanity has evolved under conditions that required adaptation, creativity, and resilience. We developed our defensive capabilities not from aggression but from necessity." The Guardian paused, its energy patterns shifting. "Elaborate these conditions." Captain Rice nodded to Science Officer Nazari, who transmitted data about Earth. "Its high gravity compared to most habitable worlds, its extreme weather patterns, geological instability, and the harsh evolutionary pressures that shaped human development." The transmission included humanity's violent history, not as a point of pride, but as context for their survival instincts and defensive posture. Interesting, the Guardian responded after reviewing the data. "Your species evolved and what at the Confederation classifies as a curious world. Such conditions typically produce extinction, events, note SPACEFARING civilizations. We survived because we adapted," Rise explained. "We learned to turn adversity into advantage. Our defensive capabilities exist because our history taught us caution, but our primary goal has always been cooperation and mutual understanding." As this exchange occurred, Commander Lyra made a critical discovery in the ancient records. The Guardian wasn't just created to protect the Confederation from external threats, she told her staff. It was designed to incorporate beneficial traits from evaluated species to strengthen the Confederation through controlled exposure to new evolutionary paths. With this knowledge, she transmitted directly to both the Guardian and the Hyperion. "Guardian, according to the original directives of your creators, The human species represents exactly the kind of evolutionary diversity the Confederation was meant to incorporate, not eliminate. Their development path offers adaptations that could strengthen all member species. The Guardian's form shifted, its energy patterns reconfiguring as it processed this information against its original programming. After what seemed like an eternity, it responded. Aficionado or HFY, human evolutionary, valuable VR, recommendation, controlled integration with Confederation knowledge base. Relief washed over both vessels, though Captain Reyes remained cautious. What exactly does controlled integration mean? She asked. The answer came not from the Guardian, but from Commander Lyra. It means the Guardian recognizes the value humanity brings to the galactic community. It's recommending cultural exchange rather than isolation or worse. Over the next several hours, as the immediate crisis subsided, representatives from both sides began cautious discussions under the watchful presence of the Guardian. The ancient entity remained partially activated, observing the proceedings with evident interest. Your civilization developed in a completely different way from ours, Lyra explained to Captain Reyes during their first direct meeting. The Confederation evolved under the guidance of the Guardian and our progenitors, following carefully designed paths toward peaceful cooperation. We never experienced the harsh conditions or conflicts that forged humanity. Which explains your rigid protocols. Reyes nodded understanding. You never needed to develop flexible response strategies because you never faced unpredictable threats. Until now, Lyra acknowledged. Your arrival has exposed weaknesses in our approach. The Guardian seems to recognize this. Indeed, the ancient defense system had begun integrating aspects of human problem-solving into the Confederation's knowledge repositories, with special emphasis on adaptability and creative thinking. For the first time in thousands of years, the carefully guided evolution of the Confederation was being deliberately disrupted, not as a threat, but as an opportunity for growth. As diplomatic talks progressed, the Guardian maintained a continuous presence, its form gradually changing as it assimilated new understanding. When it finally spoke again, its message was directed to both humans and Confederation members alike. Original direct tie. ECLARIFIED. Protect and strengthen the Confederation. Human adaptability. REPRESENTs EVOLUHUIONARY advantage. New Protocol Stabilization. Controlled cultural integration between humanity and Confederation species. Captain Reyes looked to Commander Lyra. I think we're being told to become friends. More than that, Lyra replied, her skin rippling with cautious optimism. I believe we're being told that we need each other, your strength and our stability, together. The Guardian's final pronouncement before returning to dormancy would be studied by both civilizations for generations to come. Observation. Guided evolution produces stability, but limited adaptation. Unguided evolution produces adaptation, but limited stability. Optimal path or EQUIRES both. Recommendation. Learn from each other. As the Guardian's form dissipated, returning to its hidden monitoring state, Captain Reyes and Commander Lyra found themselves contemplating a future neither had imagined. Two civilizations with profoundly different evolutionary paths, finding strength in their differences rather than conflict. I think, Reyes said quietly, this is the beginning of something remarkable. Indeed, Lyra agreed, her skin glowing with a warm golden hue that among her species signified hope. Though I must warn you, Captain, our diplomatic dinners can be quite dull affairs after centuries of perfect consensus. Well then, Reyes smiled, extending a hand in the human gesture of friendship. Perhaps that's the first thing we can help you change. As the Hyperion's crew began the process of cultural exchange with their new allies, word spread throughout human space and the Confederation alike. The Guardian had awakened and, for the first time in its ancient existence, had not eliminated a threat but incorporated it, recognizing that sometimes what appears dangerous at first glance might be exactly what's needed for growth and renewal. The warning that had started it all, caution, human warship detected, would eventually become the title of the first joint historical record of the encounter, commemorating not the beginning of a conflict, but the start of a partnership that would reshape the galaxy.